Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritism at Noon. We are studying currently the book Empty Lives by Joanna de Angelis, psychographed by the medium Divaldo Franco. And we are in chapter 21st, and the title is Spirit Persecutions. So I'm going to share the screen with you so we can start with the reading. As always, we read a little bit and then we stop for comments and questions. And it's interesting because just before we started, we were talking to Marlene about the different kinds of spirits that can be present in spiritist meetings, regarding the or in accordance to how we want to relate with them and the kind of meeting that we are talking about. And here we are going to be talking about some spirits that will be basically linked to us for two reasons. One, because they have personal affairs with us that they want really to take revenge or something like this, or because they just dislike the way we are trying to conduct ourselves, especially, of course, talking about bringing more light to our world. So I'm going to start reading and then we will comment. Spirit persecutions. Remember that death is nothing more than the separation of the spiritual essence from the material body. Biological disaggregation liberates the spirit, who for some time thereafter feels disoriented due to the different circumstances it is experiencing. Held by habits it had engaged in for some time, it feels conditioned by the impressions that were common to it, and only little by little does it integrate into its new vibratory landscape. Specifically, its attachments and aspirations continue to lead it according to its old patterns of behavior. Its convictions and yearnings continue as usual. Hence, the number of spirits who remain around the focus of individuals' interest is greater than is normally supposed. Every time humans become attached to an idea or a new habit, they attract spirits that are within the range of vibrations, and these spirits begin to influence them according to their own inclinations. So, for starters, Joanna de Angelis makes it very clear here that death is not the end. And of course, this is actually present in many, in the majority of beliefs that we have on planet Earth, to the point of leading about 90% of the population to believe in life after death, in the continuation of the spirit. They differ in how their understanding of what is going to happen after, but they all agree that there is life after. So once this is established, of course, the process of both disaggregation from the spirit, from the physical body, as well as the adaptation of seeing yourself move it to a different sphere, it's very difficult for the spirit. I mean, if we were told that we have to pack, even if you don't have to leave your city, just your house, that you have to pack overnight and just move to a different place, there will be a time of that will feel very uncomfortable, of adaptation. And so imagine when you really have to leave everything behind, because in this case, you still have time to grab a few things and take with you, right? But in this case, it's you absolutely leave everything behind, including your physical body. Having said that, it's not because we left our physical body that we will stop feeling what we were feeling. So the love, the hatred, the aspirations, everything will be there. So let's say that I am in the middle of a negotiation in my job, and then, you know, all of a sudden I have to move away from that. But as a spirit, I may feel like going there, visiting the office just to know what is going on, how people are dealing with my project or something like this, right? So the spirits will act very much like this unless they have more notion about the spirit life. In our case, for instance, we will feel like, okay, I'm here. Let me explore the new and not be attached to the old. Okay, I may even want to go there and, you know, visit my loved ones, take a look around, and but then I'm not going to be inclined to remain, to be earthbound, because there is so much more than I can find out and discover. You know, many of the answers to the questions we have now and do not have the answers, right? But if spirits of a lower condition with no um, uh, goodness in them and morals and just really thinking and living about the material life, this is going to be very hard. Living only to their passions. And so this is when they say here that, first of all, there is a large number of spirits everywhere, which doesn't mean that they will take a particular interest in us. It's like, you know, I got into the supermarket, it's packaged. It doesn't mean that everyone is going to stop and look at Jusara and, okay, stop the world and she's coming, you know. No, some may notice me. Some may not even realize I'm there. They bump me with their cart, right? With their shop cart. And they may notice me, but there will be nothing that will make them stop and take a particular interest in me, unless that is something that is going to interest them. Let's say that I grabbed something from the shelf. There is a new product, and you know, someone will come and say, oh, I never tried this. Is this good? Have you tried before, or the first time that you are having it? Because if I say, yeah, I tried, I like it very much, maybe the person will feel inclined to buy the product as well. If I say, no, I'm trying as well, but there was something that caught their interest, it doesn't mean that they are going to remain with me. Oh, can I shop with you and buy everything that you buy? But it means that there was something that attracted them. Whether they are going to stay with us, of course, now we are talking about in terms of spiritual interests and not anymore shopping at the supermarket, is up to them, and up to us. And as we said before, the spirits that are inclined to act this way are mostly spirits that are still very attached to material life. They are not the ones, the protectors, the benefactors, the mentors, the highly evolved spirit. So that's why, you know, the mental hygiene and moral habits are very important, so that we do not connect with spirits that are even going to aggravate the situation that we had before. Any question or comment so far?
Sarah, that's so, this is why it's so important to understand who we really are. We are souls here now in this physical world, but when we pass on and we go to the spirit world, we are spirits. So if we understand this, and yes, it's very, very difficult. We surely know that we one day will pass on with an understanding who we are. So when we're there, we're not going to be so confused, and spirit persecutions will not affect us as much, depending who we were here. We had just experienced the passing of our brother-in-law, and he didn't practice spiritism, but he knew about it because we would always go, we would take turns in praying every month to each other's homes, and he was always there, but he would always go into a room and not join us in prayer. But we believe that he heard those prayers. So when he passed, it was a very inspiring moment for us, because he was very, very, very sick, and he did want the suffering to stop. And he loved us to pray. He knew that it was a short time before he was, gonna depart. But it was so beautiful, because at the end he had said, I want you girls to pray for me. I don't want a priest when I pass on. So apparently he knew about the soul and the spirit life. He was preparing himself, and this is so important. And now we've had dreams about him, and he continues to say he is in a good place, and happy that he's not suffering anymore. So he learned something of this difference about passing on and living in this world, so that when we do pass, we would have this understanding that there's a difference here, and especially living a good life, because we take what we do here to the spirit world. And he was a good man, good father, good husband, good brother-in-law. So he took a lot of goodness with him. So this is very important, the spirit persecution, what Joanna de Angelis is explaining to us. So it's very, very important to understand the difference. Yep.
Yeah, it's so important. So many things that you said. For starting, is we know that it's not much about theory. The theory is what is going to help us to have knowledge to move us into practice. So, but there are people that do not
Yeah.
follow, what they are learning, right?
Yes.
And this is why I say there will be surprises in terms of when we go there. We think, oh no, but I studied, I did this, I did that, but then you did super with a superficial kind of way and not internalizing. Even in terms of the prayers, it is beautiful what you said, that it related to, how he asked you girls, right, to do the prayer, because intuitively he knew that a father would not have prayed with the same faith and kind love that you were going to pray. And he knew that this is the prayer that is actually heard. And I think it's important. I mean, even us knowing all this, having all this knowledge, like I said, even if it's a preparation, we have the time to prepare because, you know, of old age or a prolonged illness, and we know that sooner or later is going to happen. It will be, there will be a time of adaptation, but it will be much easier, especially if we do not stick to rebelliousness of wanting to stay in a place that you cannot return.
Right.
Not in the way you were, right?
Yes.
And I think it's because exactly this, because of lack of knowledge or not conforming with the new situation, that somehow this spirits persecutions or attachments happen because somehow they want to pretend or they want to believe themselves to still belong in the world of the living in the material body, right? And so they linger because they want to kind of feel that like they still belong to the realm of the living with a corporeal body, because the living is always, you know, we are all the living. You were going to say something else before someone? Yeah.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
What I was going to say too, I think sometimes we miss this can manifest through a living person. So that I had a student who had what many would call a nervous breakdown, a psychotic break, and she was not an easy student to deal with. So when you're in the school situation, you have to follow all of the protocols to get help. So hospital, what have you. And it's a challenge when you're in a public institution to look at what could possibly be other ways of looking at this. And the student had alienated all the other students that were in the class. And her comment to me, I'm just saying this, was that despite I treated you so badly, and she did, she treated everybody badly, you didn't leave me, because it was a really truly terrible situation. And I think that a lot of us forget that this can manifest in so many different ways.
Yes, and it unfortunately is much more common than we think. Of
Exactly.
course, it is going to reverberate in our emotions and psychological state, and of course having the knowledge that we have in terms of psychology, and also with the psychiatrists today, the first thing they will see is they are going to diagnose the patient. But you see, it's not like we have an X-ray that will show us, oh, here it shows that you have depression, or it's everything very much based on the symptoms. But we don't know from where the symptoms are coming from. And yes, it may be a lack or a reduction in the chemicals of the brain, an imbalance in the chemicals of the brain, but it can also be something else. It can be combined, and sometimes one thing leads the other. It can actually provoke the spiritual attachment can actually provoke the physical displays of imbalances. And so that is why, you know, it is so important for us to have this kind of consideration as well. At least in the Catholic Church, in spite of not necessarily everyone believing in that, they talk about, you know, a bad spirit, right, a demon, and that you need an exorcism, right? So they have the knowledge, they just don't know how it works and how to deal with that. And other religions as well, you understand about the approximation of something evil, something bad, but they don't know how to deal with that. And of course, like you said, in an educational institution, it's not your role to do that. The only thing you can do to help is like you did, is be there, is be present, is pray for this person, and things like this. But this is what Joanna de Angelis continues saying here, bearing in mind the Earth's moral position on the scale of evolution as a planet of trials and expiations, atonements. There is, for the time being, a strong predominance of disturbed and disturbing, perverse and mocking spirits, connected to primitive or barbaric beliefs, even to no beliefs at all, when there are no enemies individually or in a group. They generate imbalances, disorders. Since individuals have their own history, the events of past existence, they carry the needs for liberation or expiations, atonements to which their victims are connected. Even if they have been forgiven by those they harmed, they are still not released from the consequences of their actions, and they must be rehabilitated. So here she's emphasizing the aspect that we are still living in a world where the predominance of spirits are, spirits that are very new, young, very young, and in the process of evolution. So they are at the beginning. Of course, we are not right at the beginning. Okay, we saw the cave people, the cavemen, etc., and we had a huge advancement in terms of that. But if we pay attention, in many cases, we advance it in laws, in material comfort, technology, but in the moral sense, it is very slow. And the thing is, since we do not live just one life, and we bring in our unconscious, in our spirit, the remembrances of the actions we have practiced, and especially the ones that lead us to guilt, to remorse, even when you can face, like she says here, you face the one that you have harmed, and this person sincerely tells you, it's okay, I forgive you. Then there is the process of us forgiving ourselves. And until we forgive ourselves, we understand that according to the times we lived and the lessons we were taught and the way society behaved, we didn't consider how bad some of the actions we practice were, and not to excuse ourselves, but as a way of learning and saying, I'm not a barbaric person anymore, and I will forgive myself. I realize I did that, but I'm not going to be stuck in this past in this way I was, and I'm going to move forward. But until we sincerely understand that, we send out flashlights to the spirits that are around that may connect to us and aggravate the situation. And we'll say, oh, this is a person that used to be very cruel with their employees and leading them, exploring them and things like this. And even if now the employees have already reincarnated, they are very good, they will say, you're guilty. Justice is not going to pardon you. And they will try to make justice with their own hands, even if they have nothing to do with that. So we know that in the prison system, there are some crimes that are committed against society that even not the criminals can pardon the criminal. And we know that people that commit those atrocities, they will be, let's say, persecuted by the other criminals, because there are, there is a boundary, there is a line that you cannot cross. So those spirits, they do that, and they do not want us to, to give us way to move ourselves from this kind of guilt. Also because, remember that saying, misery loves company. They will say, I'm guilty as well, I'm paying my, or I'm being judged, so you have to be judged as well. And so when you have company, when you have more people that you see that has committed, wrongdoings, they feel entitled and do not feel that bad about themselves, but still they wanted to be the ones to make justice. Any question or comment at this point? Okay, so let's read a little more. The surest path to spiritual rehabilitation is that of love, guiding one's existence according to the ethical guidelines of fraternity. When individuals turn to the path of good, spirits who have not forgiven them fight hard to keep them from acquiring, illuminating, and repairing values. Therefore, their malevolent, ill-intentioned presence alongside the servants of order and duty is not so strange. In other circumstances, cruel spiritual obsessors who do not intend to change their attitudes attack all those who get in their way. So, Joanna de Angelis makes clear here that there is only one way for us to break this vicious cycle, which is love. Not only in terms of self-loving, self-forgiveness, self-love and self-forgiveness, but also in terms of us understanding that we are a network of brothers and sisters. We are all connected, and that we will start stopping just thinking about our own interests and work in the common good, for the common good. And so it's where fraternity comes here. It's a matter of how we want to make amends with our own conscience. Do I have to keep on, beating myself, believing that by doing that, sabotaging my happiness, I'm going to be, pardoned by the law? Or do I want just to, to act as an adult, recognizing our mistakes and trying to remove the mistakes that we did, not doing anymore, or seeing what we can do to repair the mistakes that we did. And this is an act of love towards us and towards others, when I'm going to understand that the person that I hurt, the situations that I create will impact loved ones, people that are, brothers and sisters, like we all are. And the thing is, when we finally get into this point of saying, stop complaining and act, it's not so easy. Because it implicates that we have to act. We have to do something about it. I cannot just be there under my, my blankets and crying and say, oh my God, I'm the most horrible person. I didn't know what I was doing, and this and that, and trying to find excuses. We have to say, yeah, I did it. Now I have to find a way to fix the situation. And this implies in us doing something about. So what can I do to make it better, to fix the situation? Then sometimes if I'm guilty of mistreating children, so to say, probably it will be said to me, you know what, you should learn how to value children and love children. So you are going to work with children in a children's hospital, in an orphanage, and things like that, where you will learn to respect children, so to say, and so many different things, so many different situations, depending on what we did. But the thing is, when we have this intention, which at first is going to be very fragile, there will be an alert sign that will tell the spirits around us, oh, this person has decided to be good. We don't want people to be good. We want more in our roles. So a bunch of them may come our way just to, to come with thoughts like, you are not worthy, you're never going to make it. Why do you start? Do you even try to start? And remember what you did, and pointing their fingers at us. We do that with people, right? We may have friends and loved ones that like to drink, and they go to an AA program, and instead of, boosting their morale and saying, good thing you're doing, we say, now, I don't know many people that actually succeed doing that. They all relapse. They fall out of the wagon, and if they do, we are going to be the first one saying, I told you, remember that you are not going to be able to do it. This is what the spirits are doing with us when we have good intentions. It seems that we find an inner pleasure in seeing others failing about their commitments, because then it seems that I do not need to be so harsh with myself in terms of doing what I have to do. So it's pure ignorance. Of course, there are some of them that are very, very malevolent, your intention, like Joanna de Angelis says here, and that they will really they know that many times their chance of success are more are improved when they attacked the tender plant that is just sprouting out of the ground instead of the oak tree, right? They say, oh, this is a future danger. Let's start acting now, because otherwise we will lose control. And this is why sometimes it's so hard for us to move away. Constantly we are bombarded with the thoughts that, I don't know, I'm doing okay, but am I doing everything that I could? Or, you know, we start having those thoughts that will really not work in our favor. And so the best way for us to combat those thoughts is fighting them. A few weeks ago, I woke up and maybe there was a couple of days that I was like, you know, very down and we're not feeling energetic and this and that. And then I started making the bed and I did a horrible job. And I said out loud to myself, well, you are not even good to make the bed the way you should. And I said that out loud. And immediately when I said that loud, I said, oh my God, out loud as well. I refuse to start my day with this kind of thinking. Already beating myself, saying that I don't do things well, that I'm tired, that this and that. And I said, no, I'm wonderful. My day is going to be a productive one. And I start saying that as a response. And late, I didn't even realize that much what was happening. But later, a couple of days later, when I was talking to my therapist, and she said, oh my God, what you did is so incredible. Because this is what we have to do, you know, not allowing ourselves the shadow that we have in us, you know, to come and take over. And sometimes, you see, it's just little things. Now our dear Marcel is cooking. And maybe you say, oh my God, I'm not doing one thing good and not even the other. Don't think about it. You're doing the best that you can. You have commitments to yourself as a mother, right? As a wife, and you have commitment to yourself as an immortal spirit that wants also to nourish your soul. It's not, so you're doing both. You're doing, you know, the nourishing of the body, the nourishing of the soul. But sometimes, you know, just little things like that take us out of the track. And yes, we know they are there. You know, they are constantly trying to bombard us, but it's up to us to allow them to win. Even if it's temporary victories, because then we will have to fight. Otherwise, we are going to be in a bad shape. But we have to think about it. Yes, Marcel, you was going to say something, Marcel?
Yes, I'm thinking that sometimes they come not in our thoughts, but how you're talking, they come with another person, no? Seems like more fragile or ignorant in these spiritual things. So with comments to us. So we need to observe not just our thoughts, like you said, because I always thought about this. Today, my house is all messed, but my priority is cooking. But all other things, it's a mess. So I'm thinking that some person say, you're bad in this. No, you're not doing good in this. So we need to think, why this person is talking to us, no? Because sometimes we are so protecting our thoughts, so the spirits try to come in another way, no, with comments, with other people talking to us. So we need to take careful with the another comments too.
But you are so right, Marcel. It's Marcel. It's something, that we have to do. We have to have priorities, and once and for all, put in our minds that we are not superheroes. We
Yes.
cannot do everything. We cannot have everything spotless, cook the best meal, be the best professional, exercise, be completely in shape, super elegant, and the house is absolutely clean. And I mean, it's impossible. And it's really that vision that we will have about the glass half full or half empty. So am I going to think, oh my God, I had a productive day today. Like yourself, I'm cooking a delicious meal to my family, made with love. I could dedicate myself to, spiritual studies that is going to help me, instead of looking, oh my God, the rest of the house is not okay, because it's a never ending for all of us that have to do that. It's a never ending job. And then is this even misconcept idea of what is perfection. Perfection is not having the bed without a wrinkle. I'm not in the army. I don't need to do that. Right? Once I had a guest in my house that he was in the army. He was a brigadier, a while back, and when he left the room that I gave to him, I got into the room and I said, "Oh my God!" Not only it seemed that no one was there, but it was so much better than when I gave the room to him. The bed was like, no wrinkles. The sink had not a single drop of water. I said, oh my God, now you completely damaged me being guests in other people's house, because I'll never be able to do what you did. Anyway, so what I wanted really to try to say here is, let's be happy with our accomplishments, and understanding that there is so much we can do, which again, as I always say, doesn't mean that I'm going to conform and say, I can only do this much. Always push a little more, but not everything. And I think in this sense, when we are talking about this spiritual persecution, this is where they get us. It's not provoking situation. It's within ourselves, bringing guilt, bringing thoughts that we are powerless, that we are mediocre in the things that we do, thoughts of animosity towards other people that could be a good influence towards us. So, like you said, it's not only what we are thinking, but sometimes, those strange thoughts that just pop up in our minds, and you even say, where did this come from? And because this is the best way to prevent this kind of spirit persecution. And like we said before, and Joanna de Angelis says here, it's a process of love as well, loving ourselves, understanding that they are also in the same process as we are. In their cases, they are still resisting the change. We are no longer resisting the change, but to go through the change is not as easy as we might think, or maybe we do not even think that it's easy, but it's just, I have to do the job. And baby steps, little by little, gradually, we will be doing that. And in this way, we will completely change the atmosphere surrounding us, the psychosphere of our thoughts. And then this is the best prevention. I'm going to stop today. We still have a lot to cover. I don't want to rush. So we will continue part 2 next time. Any comment or question?
Yes, patience is not my long suit. And so constantly I'm finding myself in situations that require patience. And so I'm sure there's a message here that little by little, they're going to teach me patience.
Yeah, Marley. Welcome to the club. Especially nowadays with, the velocity, the speed that we communicate and we receive news and all of this, it's very hard. It seems that it's becoming each time more difficult for us to have patience. And, but on the other hand, if we have, an inner conversation, a conversation with ourselves saying, like, is it really going to help me if I press the elevator button more than once? Is it really going to speed the process, or I just have to, resign, stay there and wait? The thing is, I know it is going to come. So the elevator is going to come. What we want to achieve is going to happen. And I'm talking about, not personal wins, but I'm talking about, our spiritual involvement. It is going to happen, whether we believe it or not, whether we think that there is a long way ahead or not, it is going to happen. But there is no way I can see the second floor of a house if I didn't build the basement, the first floor, etc. If I didn't establish the basement. So we will come to the conclusion that it's in our own interest to pace ourselves. That I'm bringing a necessary burden to myself. Of course, easier said than done. Okay, this is a conversation, a daily conversation that we have to have with ourselves. Texan style, hold your horse. Right? We will get there, but it's not as much. And sometimes, I remember decades ago that I use it to, if you were going to ask me to describe myself, I would always say, or something, a negative trait, I would always say, I'm so impatient. I think I skip it all incarnations as a Chinese or a Japanese, that was represented for me the model of patience. So I would say that. And I continue to say that and to think that about myself until, years ago, when I realized that, oh my God, the things that I do require so much patience. How I'm being cruel with myself, is still labeling myself in this way. So it was when I stopped doing that. I said, no, I mean, there are many phases of patience. I don't have all of them, but I already have a lot of them. And again, like I told you, you know, I was just putting extra burden in myself, wanting things to be solved. In the speech, it's like I plant a seed today, I wanted to eat the fruit tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So I'll have to say, okay, like everybody else, there is a time for everything. And little by little, I think we start getting there, okay? But don't beat yourself too hard if you still say, no, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that in this incarnation. There will be many others for us to practice what we still don't have. So don't focus too much on the one that is the hardest. Like when we have a quiz in right at school, instead of, you know, you have like 30 minutes to solve that quiz, to do all the answers. You don't go normally, you know, the students don't go to the hardest one and spend 15-20 minutes there and then give the other 9 questions without an answer. Normally we do the 9 answers and I say, now with the time I have, I'm trying to go as far as I can in the 10th one, that is the hardest one for me. So don't focus all your energy in what is more difficult for you to achieve now. Go with the other ones that indicate that it's going to be an easier process. And of course, the sum up of them will give you a better result to deal with this other one later on. Okay.
Okay. You know, there's another thing that keeps sort of nagging at me, and it's when you pass over, some people are in a very confused state and they don't know whether they're still alive or deceased.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the best way to handle that one is? How do you prepare yourself for that one? Because I'm getting there fast.
Well, we never know, Marley. You know, in terms of age, yeah, definitely you may be closer than we are, but the time of the God is the time of God, right? But and of course, we all have to contemplate the idea, and the older we get, of course, the more we have to do it. But you see, this question of being that conscious or not, even when we read the books that give us reports about life after death, like the collection of the Spirit Andrea Lewis to the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier, we see spirits that have, you know, deceased, returned to the spirit world, and they are in very nice institutions, right? Receiving all the care and love, and not necessarily immediately knowing, learning, understanding that they have passed. So the point here is not as that much, you know, focusing on what is the time, what time is going to be required for me to be absolutely conscious that I am on the other side, but to be well received, to the point of not even paying attention to that much to your surroundings, just thinking, oh my God, I'm in a nice place, people are nice with me, people are giving my meals, treating me in a very good way, you know. And one of these books that came to my mind, I think is you can find this in Life Goes On, that is part of the collection, where the main characters, they do not realize at once and what their conditions are, but they are in a good place. They are just, you know, not completely understanding what is going on, but as long as everything else and you're in a good place, you have all that, you know, support, it doesn't matter that much whether you'll be awakening to the new reality.
I think it's the second one, no? The woman is like laid down and she's seeing her fiance that was dead, and
Yeah.
she's no, I'm not dead, I'm not dead. And he's trying to help her, but she's saying no, I can't believe he's dead, because she thought that she was not dead. So a benefactor, a spirit, good spirit came and talked to the fiance, said, I think we need to change our way to deal with this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the spirits came and said, I'm the doctor, how can I help you? Thanks God you are here. I'm thinking that I'm seeing my fiance that it was dead. It's not possible. No problem, dear. And he like helped her to calm down, and everything was okay. So what not important is if you know or not know if you are dead or not. You be good treated, I think. If
Yeah,
you are
you're
good
right, Marcel. Now that you are talking, it's more like, you know, I'm going to be more afraid of the Green Reaper of the afterlife than the one here, right? The one here I'm not going to see, but if someone comes to me and says, you are dead, oh
it's
my God, I'm going to die again.
yes.
I'm going to have a shock, a heart attack. So I think, you know, the wisdom of God that allows us to be in that state that we are recently awakening in the morning, or from anesthesia or something like that, you know, you are conscious of yourself but not knowing that much what is happening in the surroundings, you know. So I think I answered your question. I hope, no, not I think. I hope that I answered your question, Marlene. So let's not worry that much about being conscious about what happened in the, you know, after, but more conscious about preparing ourselves really to make a reservation in one of those nice places that we are going to be taking care of. Okay. All right, I